and welcome back to NUA's Gamey Mac Game Show with your host, Chuck Eubanks.
What world movement has been responsible for scientific developments, medical advancements, and has founded the most hospitals, schools, and homeless shelters?
Justin Bieber.
No. What about you, Sarah?
Well, if it's not Justin Bieber, it must be Oprah?
I don't think so.
Church? The church as we know it today was started after Jesus' resurrection. And over the last 2,000 or so years, no other organization has impacted society more through feeding the poor, getting healthcare to those in danger, education to schools and universities, and contributing to laws that help to keep us all safe. Totally doing it!
When the church has lived and acted like Jesus when he was on earth, it has done some incredible life-giving things. Now, this is not to say that the church is perfect. In fact, far from it. Because the church is made up of imperfect people. And at times, with imperfect people, comes the worst of humanity, like greed, abuse of power, and neglect of the needy.
My own personal experience at church has mostly been really positive, and I have no shame in saying that I love the church. The problem sometimes is the English word church and what it means to different people.
When I say the church, some of you will instantly think of an institution or a building like this one. And church buildings come in many different shapes and sizes, from grand cathedrals to humble chapels and church halls. And inside you expect to find certain things like stained glass windows, pews, the altar, maybe some odd tasting coffee, and if you're lucky, a cookie. But when I say I love the wider church, in my head, I'm thinking of everyone inside those buildings. I'm thinking of Jesus' church. The people.
The best description of church that I can find in the scriptures is from the book of Acts. It describes how some of the early churches would have looked like. It says in Acts chapter 2 that the believers would have met together and had everything in common. They would have sold their possessions and their property to give to anyone who had a need. And this one verse has been the foundation for why the church has been such a force for good in this world, and a way of existence that we should never forget. Now, I'm not saying that you should go home and ask your parents to sell the family home or even sell your phone. But what it means to be like Jesus is to have a generous heart, to give from what you have for the common good, to share from your wealth to meet the needs of the poor. And it also says that the early church met every day in the temple courts. They would have broke bread in their homes, and they would have ate with sincere and glad hearts. You see, the focus on these verses is on the people and what they did together. This is the identity of the church, how we serve in the world, way more than just a building.
Some of the church buildings we have are breathtaking, holy places to encounter God. And the stained glass windows speak of incredible stories from the Bible. But what makes these buildings a church is God and his people, with the common goal of sharing the message of hope and making a difference in the world around us. We Irish are known for many things, from our iconic Irish dancing, our world-renowned poets, and not forgetting our sport. On our little island, we play the fastest field game in the world. It's called hurley for the boys and camogie for the girls. The game consists of a well-crafted piece of top-quality ashwood, a ridiculously hard ball called a slitter, players wearing little to no protection, and many broken fingers. It's a game played only by the brave, and it's led to the creation of other stick and ball games such as field hockey, ice hockey, and lacrosse. But here's the thing. You could become a half-decent player just at home in your back garden. You could buy the kit, learn the skills, even master the art of keepy-uppies. But it would have no comparison to lining up amongst your peers on game day, and even more special if in our national stadium, Croke Park.
Christianity is like that. We can do it by ourselves, and some people have to, like the persecuted church around the world, who have to read the Bible and pray in secrecy. But just like being part of a team, the same is true when it comes to being part of a local church community. Jesus never intended for us to be alone or to try and work out our faith by ourselves. Jesus invented the idea of the church as a team because we all have so much to offer others and so much that we can learn and gain in return. The writer of the book of Hebrews encourages us to think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. He also tells us to not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near.
I speak from experience when I say that growing in your faith is one of the hardest things to do alone. I remember growing up, there were parts about my local church that I enjoyed, but there wasn't really much going on for young people. And so when one of my friends invited me along to their youth group, it was a serious game changer. Although the problem is that it took an hour to get there by bus. And this particular route had so many ramps, which made me sick nearly every Sunday night, but it was worth it. I remember all the fun, all the banter, all the games, and exploring the scriptures together and praying with people my own age really had an impact on me. And I really loved the leaders that were there, people that were slightly older, speaking into my life. I remember one of them taking me aside and telling me that they thought they had gifts that God had instilled in me to work and communicate with young people. It's one of the reasons why I'm a youth worker today.
We've said it before, we believe God has made you on purpose with a purpose. You are uniquely you and gifted in ways that no one else is. What you have to offer cannot be replicated, and the church will be at a loss if you choose to keep your faith life to yourself. There are many gifts that the Holy Spirit can empower you with. You might have the gift of leadership or teaching, of healing or encouragement, of craftsmanship or art. One gift isn't greater than the other, but if we all chip in, we can all work together like the different parts of a body.
The Apostle Paul warned us not to compare ourselves to other people. In his letter to the early church in Corinth, he said, if the foot says, well, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not a hand, would that make it any less a part of the body? And if the ear said, well, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not an eye, would that make it any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how could we hear anything? If the whole body were an ear, how could we smell anything? And in fact, some parts of the body that seem the weakest and least important are actually the most necessary.
It's a lie to think that you have nothing to offer. We are all gifted, and when we're participating as a team, we can be God's hands and feet in this world. It's the truest form of church.
As good as it is to be Irish, we do have our flaws.
If we're not making fun of something, we're complaining about it. The weather gets a regular beating. We love a good rant about traffic, bad Wi-Fi, waiting in line, Mondays, double maths class, when it doesn't snow on Christmas, when it does snow on Christmas, and for the love, why are there never apple pies left in McDonald's?
If only we could turn our complaining into a renewable energy source, we could light up the whole world. The church has also been at the end of some serious complaining. Now, some of this has been justified with the mistakes made, but most of the complaining these days is about how boring church can be, or how there's nothing for young people.
We've recently been inspired by some young people who put their energy into being the change they want to see.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Eva.
And welcome to Ballantyre Dundrum Youth.
This youth group has given us a great opportunity for me and my friends to grow in our faith as we share it with the people who are slightly younger than us.
The group meets every 2 weeks, and basically it's a space where the teens can continue their journey of faith and learning about God, learning about Jesus.
I actually didn't really go to a youth group when I was younger, and that's part of the reason why I so much wanted to be involved with this one, because it was something that I kind of felt a lack of.
There was never really anything for youth in my church when I was younger, but all that kind of changed around 3 years ago. There was a confirmation program, and by the end of it, they said, we want more. So we decided to start up a youth group.
The most important thing for us about the youth group is it gives a space for the young people to ask questions, explore their faith, make authentic friendships, and just to have a space where they can feel safe and feel like they can be themselves.
A verse that's important to us is Galatians 6:2, and it says,
Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ.
We want to encourage you, rather than looking at what your church doesn't have, maybe ask what you can offer. Churches are not buildings and they're not organizations. The church is the people. And if it's the people, then it's people like you and me who make it what it is. So rather than being a spectator, why not get in the game and see what you can do?